Okay, good morning. This is the June. Speakers off. Good morning. This is the June 13, 2023 meeting of the Hudson Valley Board of Review. The hearing is being held via video conference WebEx at the following location: Portland Town Hall, 1 Hetty Street, Portland, Manor, New York, 10567. Time is now 9:02 a.m. and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Jane Slavin, left, Megan Smaller to my right, Shaheen Badali, my far right. My name is Marco Ciavarelli, I'm the chairman. And from the Department of State, all the way to my far left is Neil Collier. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. Making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the records. What that means is if you're going to refer to a particular drawing or an exhibit, please let us know that the number of that drawing or the number of the exhibit, okay? Okay. Okay, the first petition is petition number 2023-0277. The aggrieved party is Scannell Properties number 600 LLC. The petition pertains to construction of a warehouse, occupancy group S1, moderate hazard storage, construction type 2B, non-combustible, 1 story and 51 feet in height, 924,106 square feet in area, and located at 22 McBride Road, Town of Wauwanda, County of Orange, New York State. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, and 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the Fire Code of New York State, Section 903.3.1.1, alternative protection, which states alternative automatic fire extinguishing systems complying with Section 904 shall be permitted instead of automatic sprinkler protection where recognized by the applicable standard and approved by the fire code official. The applicant is seeking to relief to allow alternative automatic fire extinguishing protection. Okay, is there someone here that's going to present the case? So we have a microphone right here, so just, yeah, it's fine. So give us your name and.
So I'm Matt Guilfoyle with Harrington Group, Vice President of Project Management.
Just keep your voice up, right?
Yep.
All right, before we start, I just want to let you know that we have, normally there are a 5-member board. Today we only have 4. So there's a possibility that could result in a tie. You have the option of postponing this to a later date or the next meeting where hopefully we'll have a 5th member, or you can proceed with the 4 members. In the event there is a tie, what we would do is present the minutes to a 5th member, and they would review the minutes and then cast the tie-breaking vote. So how do you want to proceed?
We're good to go forward.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I get him to spell his name because I did not hear it?
Yes.
First name Matt, M-A-T-T, last name Guilfoyle, G-U-I-L-F-O-Y-L-E.
Thank you.
Proceed.
So the building is a little over 900,000 square feet. It's predominantly a distribution warehouse for barge products. The protection of those products with in-rack sprinklers is what we're asking to use an alternate design for. So the design is found not in the referenced NFPA 13 2016 edition. It's found in a FM Global 8-9 design guide for high piled storage, basically in rack storage. So The specific commodity and the specific arrangement is supported by that design. It basically requires in-rack sprinklers of a certain size, K25s, depending on if you're a single row rack or a double row rack, discharging 120 gallons a minute, either 5 or 10 sprinklers to protect the specific arrangement in this facility. Now, the issue that we come into is the type of commodity. So the commodity is Group A plastics. So it's all types of plastics, and there's 4 categories that the code really looks at. It's either cartoned or uncartoned, and then expanded or unexpanded. So this facility will have all 4 types. It's common for warehouses not to have anything worse than a cartoned unexpanded plastic. Everything that's exposed or expanded becomes a more challenging fire scenario to protect. So the request is to use the design in it's FMDS 8-9 to protect these commodities, which relies on a in-rack sprinkler scheme. And the scheme is basically every 30 feet, you have a level of in-rack sprinklers, very similar to what you have at the ceiling. It's K25 sprinklers, so no further than 25 feet, or I'm sorry, 30 feet vertically. The letter that we provided outlines the specific rack types and how that will be implemented into the building, or proposed to be implemented into the building to protect the specific commodities. The building as a whole, it does house all ranges of Group A plastics, but it has also a range of just normal commodities. So it's not exclusively plastics. It ranges from non-combustible materials to metals, plastics, metals, woods, kind of everything in between non-combustible to a plastic combustible product. The racks in the building that will have this protection takes up about 30% of the floor area. Of that 30%, it is a mixture of commodities. So those racks are provided to protect the worst case commodity, but there'll be a mixture of commodities there just to provide flexibility for where items can be stored.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, so what we'll do here is first we're going to open up for questions from the board members. Okay. And then after that, we'll open it up to anybody else who wants to speak or ask any questions. Okay. Let's go. Shane, you want to go first?
Sure. So has the system been designed yet?
Yes.
Yes. So I believe it may have been beneficial to provide those drawings for our review as well, just to have a better understanding of the system. You say K25, that's the K factor of the head?
Yes.
So those heads are listed to be spaced at like 30 feet or whatever it is?
Yes. So the design is in FMDS for up to 30 feet. They're the same sprinklers that are used for ceiling level protection as well, but they have been FM approved. So
it's just like an extra coverage head, essentially.
It's a ESFR head.
ESFR, okay. So they're specifically for storage.
Yes.
And so there would only be an in-rack system, or would there also be sprinklers in the ceiling?
Yes, so there would also be sprinklers in the ceiling. The ceiling would be protected also in accordance with FMDS 8-9 with ESFR sprinklers. That would be fully sprinklered. There are some racks in the building that you can protect as a ceiling-only solution. So those don't have your exposed plastic or expanded plastics. So those can be protected as the ceiling only. These racks are, because they have that exposed or expanded plastic, they need the in-rack solution. So in those cases, there would be either 1 level or 2 levels of in-racks, depending on the type of racking and the arrangement of that racking.
And how tall are those racks, sorry?
Those racks go up to 40 feet. 40 feet.
Oh, wow. And then it's like a 50-foot building, so do you have like a roughly 10-foot space between your ceiling sprinklers and your racks then?
So the peak height of the building is 48, so at the very middle, yes.
Okay.
And then as the roof slopes down, it'll get a little less.
And has any consideration been made for the effect of smoke in that area, between the racks and the ceilings? Is that typically an issue with systems?
So in terms of egress, it's not. The code has allowances for where you have a 1-story building that has sprinklers and has a 24-foot, they use the word clear height. My understanding is that would be to the roof deck. Where you have that, you're allowed 400 feet of travel. So that study is It's based on, well, the code change history is based on making sure occupants can get out in 400 feet. So it provides a good smoke reservoir for it and would allow folks to get
And
out.
that's the travel distance here, is 400 feet for this one?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty thing.
Jane, you want the next?
This, last page of your letter dated September 30th, 2022. This is the racking system diagram. Is this what you're showing us here?
So this is one of the racking systems. This is the one that has 2 levels of in-racks. So because of the way the product is stored on the bottom level, below the level in-racks there, we need to provide another in-rack basically. And this gets into flue spaces and the gaps between pallet loads and products. So because they basically block your flue space, which allows not only the smoke and heat to get to the ceiling or the sprinkler in-racks, but as the water also to get down, we provided another level to protect that. And then the storage above that exceeded 30 feet, so we needed to provide a level of in-racks there. There are other arrangements, and I don't believe it was in the packet that was submitted. I have copies of it if I can give that to you to see the other. Oh. That's okay. I brought it up for everyone.
Okay.
So these are all the racking arrangements.
All right, so we're gonna mark this as Exhibit Z.
Can you let the board know why it is that you are requesting this relief? Why can't you meet code? What's the reason behind it?
So the NFPA 13 edition that's adopted doesn't have a specific storage or protection scheme for these types of commodities specifically for this. The option in FMDS does address these types of commodities to these heights and in racks. And it provides protection that is based on full scale testing. And that's how FM, my understanding of FM, provides the protection and puts the protection schemes in that document. So it provides a solution that we feel confident in would protect the not only storage, but the building and the occupants.
Have you done this design in other locations, or is this the first time?
We've done it in other locations, not in the state of New York itself, but across the country.
Okay, so when you did it in the other states, you had to go through the same process to obtain the approval since it's not in the NFPA 13.
Yeah, so depending on the state, some states don't have review boards. So we didn't necessarily go to a board to present it, but we did present it as an alternate and have to get it approved as an alternate to what's in NFPA 13.
And have those systems ever had to be utilized at this,
Not that I'm aware of.
not that you're aware of?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Megan, you have any questions?
Yeah, following up with Jane's line of questioning, how long has this alternative system been in use in this type of warehouse or storage?
Good question. You don't know. Oh, I believe we've implemented this design 3 or 4 years.
I would say 3 to 4 years.
About in the 3 to 4 year time range where we've used this design. FMDS works a little bit different than NFPA 13. NFPA 13 is revised every 3 years. FMDS, because it's put out by FM, they can more regularly update their criteria based on their testing and what they've seen in that. So we can change it more or use that guidance to change our designs more regularly. So I would say in the last 3 to 4 years, we really have used this design of in-racks at a maximum 30 feet spacing to protect more challenging commodities.
So NFPA 13 hasn't caught up to this other standard,
Correct.
basically.
Yeah.
The other locations that have, where the system has been installed, do they have the same type of commodities being stored?
Yes. So the building is used as a distribution center for larger products, and larger is defined as anything. What I've heard is anything larger than a toaster. I would say a decent sized toaster, right? So it's 18 inches, kind of an 18-inch cube. So you'll see anything from TVs that are long, right? They have to fit in the storage to kayaks, right? You see some kayaks, mattresses that are rolled, It's larger items that they don't necessarily fit perfectly on a pallet.
So what percentage would you say, you mentioned mattresses, what percentage of this building will be stored mattresses?
So,
It's fairly low.
so it is fairly low. So they use it to store basically any product that they might sell, the tenant. And mattresses is one of those, but it isn't exclusively mattresses, right? So it's a wide range of consumer products. In total, the area that is protected for your more hazardous plastics and exposed plastics is about 30% of the storage. But that's not to say that all of that 30% is mattresses. It would be a low percentage of that actually is mattresses.
Okay, and this alternative sprinkler system would be used throughout the entirety of the building, but different numbers of levels depending on the areas or the type of commodity stored in certain areas.
Right, so it would be used in about 30% of the racking. So any racking that would have the increased plastics, so the exposed or the uncartoned plastics, would have this protection. There are areas of the building that are limited to only cartoned unexpanded plastics, which is protectable by the roof level system. So they differentiate where they store these types of plastics.
And so what is protecting the other 70% of the building?
The roof level system. So the roof level system is designed to protect what we have as a peak roof height of 48 feet. The roof level system is designed to protect up to a 50-foot ceiling, and it's FM listed or FM approved to protect those commodities with only the ceiling level protection.
So the rest of the building isn't able to follow the NFPA 13 either because of the type of commodity, or?
So we opted to use the design in FM to keep everything consistent and use the same design from one code or one guideline throughout the entire building.
Do any of these stored commodities have lithium batteries or any kind of fuel storage?
So the building won't have any hazmats or DOT classified hazmats, flammable combustible liquids, no flammable combustible liquids, no oxidizers, no corrosives. The products may have lithium ion batteries, but it's a battery that is integral to the product, and it's not, it won't be dedicated lithium ion battery storage.
Nothing's being charged.
Nothing's being
But stored. What about the type of equipment used inside the warehouse to retrieve the items? Any hydrogen fuel cell forklifts or?
I don't think the XLF the hydrogen. Electric.
So the forklifts run on electric. They're electric battery forklifts.
So, okay. How many occupants or staff, like how many people are normally inside this building?
I do not.
Okay, so I don't know the exact number, but it's much less than the prescriptive 1 per 500 count. In similar facilities that I've worked with on this tenant, numbers in the maybe a couple hundred at a time. Because of the amount of storage, it's really, they're utilizing it for the area of storage and the ability to store the different, the different commodities and have those available to consumers.
And are there any additional safety considerations being provided for egress? Like what, if something were to happen inside this building, can you explain to me, how the occupants are notified? And
So the building does have a fire alarm system, and it's a full occupant notification. So the code only requires, I think, minimal notification in these buildings, but the whole floor print has horn strobes basically throughout at the ceiling. So it's essentially one device per structural bay, which is 50 or 60 by 60 or so. So they're spaced to provide the visual coverage on the ground. Or it's just audible.
No, it's audible.
So there's space to provide audible coverage throughout the entire warehouse, but it is every structural bay has a horn strobe in it, so they all flash and have the tone as well.
And no conveyor belts or anything like that that bring product to a loading dock? It's all open besides is it a clear racking system, right, grid, like?
It's all manual.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Jeffrey Faucon, VP Project Manager with Harrington Group.
Just spell your name for her, please.
Sure, last name Faucon. Predominantly, no, there's no predominant mass conveyor systems. There may be small incidental short runs of conveyor at loading docks, but it is not the predominant method of transport.
Not something in the way that someone would have to go up and over or?
Correct.
They'll use like gravity conveyors almost to load and unload the trucks, but it's not a substantial quantity of fixed in place conveyors.
Okay, and then this alternative to the sprinkler system, as far as water pressure and requirements to run it compared to compared to an NFPA 13 system, is there more water pressure required? Is it the same? And where is the water coming from in this location?
I'm not talking about the water supply.
Yes. So this site is equipped with a full-size water storage tank for 100% of the water supply duration. In terms of, you had asked, how does it compare to an NFPA 13 system? Well, the NFPA 13 system really is, there is not a appropriate solution at this time for this type of commodity.
Right.
But it'd be correct in saying if you're using an NFPA, it'd be limited to a much lower height.
Yes,
And so that's the only way to get this type of storage.
right.
It would be difficult to provide a one-to-one comparison on that. I will say the storage sprinklers is what FM calls them. Those are ESFR sprinklers, and they are designed to suppress a fire. So these schemes, FM has tested them to suppress a fire rather than control a fire. So, and when I use those terms, I guess I'm using them as defined in NFPA 13. So control is to stop and limit the growth of a fire, whereas suppression is to stop and limit it, but also decrease the size of it drastically. Right. So these systems have all been designed to suppress a fire in these arrangements.
Yeah, I guess where my question came from was you have now multiple levels of sprinkler lines instead of just one, like we would normally have, in a space. And I'm just was wondering about the availability of the water and the hydraulic, that it's, so a tank, that's a pretty
So
sizable
the
tank.
K factor,
Correct.
where he's saying it's pretty much a similar flow
Right.
pressure. Yeah, and 120 gallons in a sprinkler is kind of ridiculous. It's a lot of water.
That's on par for kind of ESFR designs for the amount of water, but yes, the tank's been designed to accommodate how much water would be needed by this.
Okay, I think it's all of my questions.
Good. Okay. So you're basically tailoring this sprinkler system with this particular use.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Am I right in saying that?
Yep.
So 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road, this tenant moves out, somebody comes in. What happens?
So the ceiling level system is designed to protect cartoned unexpanded plastics, which is your standard warehouse design, right? So if somebody builds a warehouse and they don't know who's going to move into it yet, they typically design that for cartoned unexpanded plastics. So if you remove all of the racking from this building and you don't have your in-rack system, the ceiling only protection is still FM listed or approved to protect kind of normal storage of cartoned unexpanded plastics. So in 5 years from now, if this tenant moves out and somebody else moves in, you have to do an analysis to figure out, what are they storing, what that commodity classification is, and can it be protected by that, that ceiling level sprinkler? If the answer is no, they need to put their own, do an analysis, right? Figure out if they need in racks. But The racks would come out, the in racks would come out, and you'd be left with basically a normal shell warehouse designed to protect your worst typical plastic commodity.
I see that we have some correspondence from both the fire officials and the building officials. We'll get to that in a second. But where is this I assume this is a volunteer fire department? Location of the closest firehouse is,
I know.
We're not aware of that.
don't know.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Like 2 miles? Okay, thanks. That's all that so what we'll do is we'll open it up to questions from, or comments from anybody else. So is there anyone here in the audience who would like to speak regarding this application?
Just the town of Whitby on it doesn't oppose it as long as it's,
You got, just
Come
come on up there, just stand right here by the microphone, just identify yourself.
Charles White with Whitby on the building department. And, the town doesn't oppose it as long as it's proven equivalent.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else here in person that would like to comment? Okay, is there anyone attending the meeting remotely? I don't know if they can hear me. Should I put my mic on? They can't hear me? Okay. Is there anyone here attending the meeting remotely who would like to comment on this application? Okay, not hearing anybody? Anything else? Shaheen, good? All right, so at this point, we're gonna go into deliberations. If you don't mind, if you can just step out, you can leave your stuff here, we're not gonna steal it.
Oh, yeah. We,
We're on the record.
Okay, we're back on. Megan, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the petition of Scannell Properties number 600 LLC, petition number 2023-0277. The petition pertains to construction of a warehouse occupancy group S1 moderate hazard storage, construction type 2B, non-combustible, 1 story and 51 feet in height, 924,106 square feet in area, and located at 22 McBride Road, Town of Wawayanda, County of Orange, New York State. Petitioner, excuse me, is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the Building Code of New York State, and 19 NYCRR Part 1225, the Fire Code of New York State, Section 903.3.1.1, Alternative Protection, which states, alternative automatic fire extinguishing systems complying with Section 904 shall be permitted instead of automatic sprinkler protection where recognized by the applicable standard and approved by the Fire Code official. The board makes the following findings. 1. Subject petition pertains to the fire extinguishing system to be used for a large moderate hazard storage warehouse. 2, applicant requests relief to allow an alternative design for fire protection as permitted in NFPA 13 when, quote, equivalent or superior quality, strength, fire resistance, effectiveness, durability, and safety, unquote. 3, applicant's fire protection engineer proposes the use of an in-rack fire sprinkler protection scheme that is not currently available in the reference codes. 4, proposed alternative solution is found in the Factory Mutual Global Data Sheet 8-9, storage of class 1, 2, 3, 4, and plastic commodities, FMDS 8-9, as described in the construction criteria document dated September 30th, 2022. 5, applicant states The alternative design is in accordance with the equivalency and new technology clauses in NFPA 13, sections 1.5 and 1.7, and have been approved in 33 other jurisdictions nationally. 6, the local code and fire department officials have submitted correspondence in this matter supporting the granting of a variance under Part 1205. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds that in the case before it, strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from 19 NYCRR Part 1221 and 19 NYCRR Part 1225, Section 903.3.1.1 be granted with the following conditions. 1, that the alternative design shall comply with Factory Mutual Global Data Sheet 8-9 storage of Class 1, 2, 3, 4, and plastic commodities FMDS 8-9 as described in the construction criteria document dated September 30th, 2022. 2, that this variance expires upon change of use or occupancy. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and the application before it as contained within the petition. It should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. Based on the above findings, the board finds that practical difficulties and or unnecessary hardships would be encountered or caused by compliance with the strict letter of the law, such that granting a variance would not substantially adversely affect the code's provisions for health, safety, and security. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Megan. Do I have a second?
Aye.
Jane Slavin seconds the motion. Before we take a vote, we have a motion seconded. Do you understand the motion? You have any questions?
No.
All right, so we'll now vote. Shaheen? Aye. Megan?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Yeah, variance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go over the record.
On the record.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next case is petition number 2023-0266. The agreed party is Dean Galimas. The petition pertains to a variance to allow construction of an apartment building, occupancy group R2, residential, construction type 5B, combustible, 2 stories in height, 2,422 square feet in area, and located at 275 Hudson Avenue, Village of Cornwall, County of Orange, New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1221 Building Code of New York State and 19 NYCRR Part 1225 the Fire Code of New York State, Section 903.2.8 Group R, which states an automatic sprinkler system installed in accordance with Section 903.3 shall be provided throughout all buildings with a Group R fire area. Petitioner is seeking relief to allow construction of an unsprinkled residential occupancy. Okay, someone here that can present the case? Yes. The microphone is here on this corner, so if you're going to speak, stay close to that. Before we start, I think you heard me during the first case, that they're normally a 5-member board. We're only 4 members today.
Understood.
So if you wish, you could postpone to the next scheduled meeting, where hopefully we'll have 5 members, or you can proceed today with 4 members. In the event of a tie, minutes of the meeting would be referred to a 5th member for a review, and it would cast a deciding vote. So how do you want to proceed today?
Proceed.
Go ahead. Okay. Just state your name.
Good morning. My name is John Perkins. I'm the architect for Dean Galimas, who is joining me this morning. Address, post office box, or 18 Scan Drive, Tompkins Cove, New York.
Proceed.
This is with regard to additions to two residences at 275 Hudson Avenue in Village of Cornwall, New York. Presently, there's an existing two-family residence at the front of the lot and a four-family residence at the back of the lot. We intend to add an additional 3-unit townhomes in between the two to connect the units together to become one large unit. The structures themselves should be noted as townhomes. Each one of them has separate entrances. So they are connected to one another. And narrative kind of states specifically what we intend to do in a lot of our points. So taking note of that, one of the most important parts of the decision-making of Mr. Galemis to proceed with trying to create additional townhomes to the existing lot is that there's a lack of affordable housing for most of the residents of Cornwall. So it would be pretty important to add additional units to the existing lot to create additional homes for young upcoming residents that are trying to establish themselves that are affordable within the Village of Cornwall. Cornwall itself is a pretty historic community within the Orange County area on the Hudson River. And a lot of them are within the walking distance of the small business district. And many of the houses there are older homes and have a lot of character and a lot of historic value to them. In younger homes or younger families trying to move into these homes, it becomes a little difficult to create a household within these larger historic homes. So creating these apartments would be significant for the younger families to create an independent household within the Village of Cornwall. There is a notable lack of affordable housing options in Cornwall. So Mr. Galemis has taken note of this and would like to help out as long as he can create additional apartments or additional townhomes. The address of the lot is at 275 Hudson Avenue, as noted in Cornwall. They are 2 stories in height, all of the units, on a slab on grade foundation. The units themselves that we're creating will create a 1.5-hour fire separation between them. So it is a significant improvement from what is currently existed at the 2-family at the front and the 4-family at the back, that there will be fire areas or fire separations between each one of these units. So those 3 additional units will have a 1.5-hour demising wall between them. They are connected to the front unit and the back unit at the left-hand side of the lot, or the east side of the lot, as indicated on the survey. The existing units will be provided with a central station fire alarm system to improve the greater degree of safety for the existing lots or the existing units as well as the proposed units. And they will be equipped with carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in each one of those units and connected to a central station. The units themselves will be equipped with fire extinguisher cabinets at each one of the entry doors to, again, increase the amount of safety for each one of the units. And the reason we are here is kind of as a result of cost. And the owner's kind of taken it upon himself to price out the sprinkler system in the process of planning for construction, and has come to this hurdle of cost for proposing a fire sprinkler system for the proposed units as well as the existing units. And the overall budget of these sprinkler systems exceeds somewhere in the neighborhood of about $66,000 for the front unit and the middle unit, the proposed 3 units that we're proposing. What they will actually encompass will be obviously sprinklers themselves within the unit, and actually a new water supply that comes from street level. So currently there are 2 water supplies, one for the back, one for the front unit. There would be an additional supply required from street level. So that is a significant cost. They estimate somewhere in the neighborhood from the sprinkler companies that Mr. Galemis has been in contact with of about $11,000 just to do that one improvement to provide the water supply. I believe there was a discussion with the town engineer that the street pressure should be sufficient, but that would reflect upon the size of the actual main required or the supply required for the sprinkler system. So that might actually generate an increased cost if the pressure is not encompassed to be enough to allow enough pressure for the units. The cost of the sprinkler system for the middle units that we're creating, the 3 as well as the 2 at the front, creates a situation where it becomes almost a 20% or 18%, if I'm quoting Mr. Glemis correctly, of the overall construction budget to create these sprinklers, just that the proposed units as well as the existing at the front. That was not taken into consideration if there was requirements for creating sprinkler systems in the rear units. There are 4 units at the rear. There is an important factor of inconveniencing the existing residents if these improvements are required. Many of them have lived there for a number of years, and it would be very difficult for them to relocate or disrupt them in the process of this construction and ask them to move out on the account of providing new sprinklers for them. Some of the residents have been there as long as 20 years, should be noted, and it would be something that we would try to avoid is to disrupt them in any way by this new construction. Would be kind of unfair to request them to leave their homes if we had to do this for them. So a couple of notes of safety or importance for the site itself. There's one main firehouse located within about 240 yards of the actual lot itself. So the firehouse is very close to the proposed project. And it also should be noted there's actually a fire hydrant on the site itself. So in the front yard, there is a fire hydrant of its own. Fire service timeline is typically within a response time of about 3 minutes, which might be significantly less with the firehouse being so close, with the fire hydrant being on site. So we feel as if there's an element of convenience with the fire service being so close. We feel as if the improvements to the property and the addition helps the owner to improve the property and increases the level of safety in the existing units as well as the proposed units that we're creating. Not only the fire separation between the units, but increasing the element of fire extinguishers in each unit, as well as the central station fire alarm system. I think that the element of safety is something that should be definitely taken into consideration with the new construction as opposed to the element of the existing units in the back, the 4 units in the back versus the 2 units in the front, where if there was an unlikely event, some kind of a fire or in a unit, there would be a separation between the front unit and the back unit. And it also creates an element of convenience and a little bit nicer of the affordability for the people in the community. That's an option for residents.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
All right. Start off with questions from Bert. Starts off, Jane.
Sure. Okay, you referenced the fire department being so close. Is it a volunteer department?
I believe it.
Okay, so you say you believe so.
It is. It is.
Okay, it's volunteer.
Dean Delemis, 100 Pelham Drive, Cornwall, New York. The owner of the property. It is a volunteer fire department.
Do they have drivers that stay? Like, is there someone in the department 24 hours a day? Because that response time is really fast. If you're referencing that. In the middle of the night, they're not making it there in 2.5 to 3 minutes. It's not possible.
Can I defer to the building inspector who may have an answer?
Hello, I'm Manny Carmona, code official for the village of Cornwall on Hudson. It's an extremely small village, and they're about 2 square miles. There's no traffic lights, very little traffic in the village itself. Pretty much in all the community right now, younger families are coming in slowly, but pretty much anywhere within 3 minutes. I agree with you, 3 o'clock in the morning, they gotta get up, they gotta drive to the firehouse, they gotta wait for everybody to come in, but the response time is extremely low, During the day, there's usually one or two guys hanging out there at the firehouse, the fire chiefs. They work with me in the building department, so they always out in the road as well. So it's one of them, if not the fire truck, at least the fire chief will normally be there within 3 to 5 minutes. And it is the case for all the fires that I respond to while I'm working, because I respond as well as a fire inspector. We there quickly. It's a very, very small village, no action. I'm serious, no action at all.
So it says that way.
That's called good fire prevention.
And we do have a big fire prevention there as well, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Manny. You referenced the cost of the construction. Can you tell me what is the total cost of construction for the proposed project?
Right now, it's at $430,000. All in.
Now, we also referenced that right now, the two separate buildings are being fed by their own water supply.
Each building has a separate water line going to it at the moment.
So this new construction, this portion of it, will it have a new water supply? Or is it going to be fed off of one of the other ones?
It will be fed off one of the other ones, the existing ones. However, a fire sprinkler system requires a separate independent fire line. So I'd have to go out in the street, and that's a whole other additional cost. But there is enough, according to our engineers, there is enough water supply with the two existing lines for us to supply the additional 3 units without going into another new connection.
Okay, and the fire separation, do I see it's only 1 hour between the existing unit and the proposed new construction?
We proposed the initial construction documents that after discussing with fire inspector, we're willing to increase it to an hour and a half.
Part of the reason for my question is, has there been consideration of looking at the separate fire areas? And you can do that by creating a more intense firewall. So I know you reference having to sprinkler the existing structures as well as what's new. But if you broke it down into fire separation areas, was that under consideration?
That was a consideration. We spoke with the fire inspector with regards to that. And in kind of proposing the drawings as we have them and to keep the cost down, we were trying to eliminate the idea of creating separations at the existing buildings and touching the buildings at the rear and then the buildings at the front.
But if you were to do that, that most likely would, obviously I haven't done a full code review, but that would most likely eliminate the requirement for you to have to sprinkler the existing structures.
That's a possibility.
The cost we have is for sprinkling only the additional front 2 units, not the back 4. The back 4 is only connected via a breezeway. There's just a little rooftop overhanging to it. So the building's not up against the rear
Okay,
building
yeah, I
necessarily.
see that. And that's why that's not called out as fire rate.
And the biggest cost here, to sprinkle the additional existing 2 units, the cost isn't that astronomical. The big cost is the new 3 units and the connection to the street, because there's about $11,000 worth of connection fees, and then another $16,000 worth of excavation and sidewalk replacement fees. That's where, so that's the bulk of the 66,000 is really the new construction.
That's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Megan, next.
Yeah, so it seems as if the new addition is being proposed on a side yard. Is that a fair
Yes.
Assessment? And it seems as if most of your utilities are running, existing utilities are running in there. So are you relocating the water, the sewer, and the gas lines that run in there now?
No. But yes, we are. Are you relocating all of them?
We're relocating, everything's being relocated to the side yard between the rear of the addition. If you can tell what the rear is, like the.
Right, what's a remaining side yard?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
after.
the gas lines are being relocated there. We've put an additional pole in for the electrical utilities. So my gas lines are being relocated, my electric's being relocated, and the sewer line is being relocated. For the back building. The sewer line for the rear building is gonna be connected to the new addition. So there's still, I believe it's 2 sewer lines at the moment.
So some of them.
Right, some not.
Okay, so will you, so that water line that we were just discussing, that's existing, that would be used for the domestic water for the 3, you'll have a new connection for that, I imagine.
The connection is within the envelope of the property. It's not going out to the stream.
That's not what the plans are showing though.
No.
Yeah.
The plans are showing a new connection the plans appear to be showing a new connection to the water main in the street.
That's incorrect. I apologize for that.
Okay. You explained, and the plans seem to explain that you will be directly adjacent to the front building, directly connected to the front building, but the breezeway in the back, so that answered one of my questions. Are there any windows on the wall of the existing front building that will be eliminated because of the adjacency of?
No, ma'am. No,
Okay.
no windows on that side of the house at all.
Okay, I also noted that the plans show a 1 hour, 1 hour demising wall between all of the units and the building, yet you are proposing a 1.5 hour.
Correct.
So that would be corrected. I also wondered what was the benefit of, or what is limiting, why are you connecting the 3 new units to the existing one in the front? What is the benefit, or are there restrictions like setbacks, side yard setbacks?
Restrictions.
There are zoning considerations that were taken, the shape of the lot, if you note the survey, it's an irregular shaped lot. The only available space really is between the front unit and the back unit. And there's a lot of consideration taken for parking as well.
And you mentioned that you're going to be providing affordable housing. Is that in your own opinion, or is that are you going to be part of a managed program or public policy for, for affordable housing, something subsidized or?
It's gonna be in my opinion, but we're not opposed to Section 8 coming into our community. There's a serious dearth of housing inventory in Cornwall for rentals. So we have 2 issues, right? We have young families getting married, coming out of school, wanting to come back home, and there's simply nowhere for them to live. We also have the opposite. We have senior citizens who are being taxed out of their homes and selling and wanting to rent. And this property happens to be a perfect case in that. I have first responders living in this property. I have senior citizens who have sold their home in Cornwall living in this building. I have a woman who's been there in the front building since the building was built 25 years ago. She's 83, she's been there. There's not a lot of alternatives for senior citizens and young couples in town. So listen, I'm heavily invested in the town of Cornwall, right? I run a business there, I live there, and my family lives there, my children live there. My brother and his family live there. I genuinely care about the town, and we need to keep a good demographic in town. And what we're missing is young families who want to support our restaurants. We're trying to revitalize Main Street, and there are no young couples with babies. We need young people who want to go out to dinner and support our restaurants. There's a big push. The state just awarded Cornwall $6.5 million, I believe 4.5 or 6.5 to revitalize our Main Street. There was this whole big grants going on around state right now. So there's a big push, but without the people to support everything they want to do, it's just simply not going to work. So I have a vested interest in town to make sure that we have the people. So other projects that we're doing are sustainable. So am I going to be a part of a program? Not at the moment. That's not the plan. I do not turn away Section 8 housing. People who want to come from Section 8. I'm all about a diverse demographic in the community, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I understand and respect that. I didn't mean to, I just wanted to clarify whether this was part of a subsidized program
No.
or not, or,
I'm not getting any state money to build
Yeah,
this or anything
yeah,
like that.
okay.
Anything built on my dime.
so it isn't an official public policy, situation. So you mentioned young families, yet these are all one bedroom and the bedrooms are, and you mentioned elderly and they're all upstairs. So was there any consideration to, accessible one story or more than one bedroom instead of the three?
The existing units, half of them are one level, all of them are one level. The existing units, with separate entrances. 3 are one on ground level. So that's where my older tenants are. The project initially started off as 2-bedroom units, to your point, for just exactly what you just said. However, during the planning board session, the village scaled that back to 1 bedrooms because of parking concerns.
Okay.
So that's why we scaled it back to 1. But if you see the size of the units, they're very generous bedroom upstairs. Will it accommodate a expandable wall and a separation for a nursery? We believe it would, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. So the project started off as 2 bedrooms and was scaled back at the request of the village. Because the ratio in the village code, the ratio for how many parking spaces per bedroom, is that correct, Manny? So we need exceptionally bigger variance from the village regarding parking. So this was at their recommendation that it turned into a 1-bedroom.
Okay, and that was my last question, was about parking. There are still enough parking spaces to accommodate
Yes.
the new, because you're building on side yard and not parking. Okay, I think that was all of my questions.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Shane?
Not too many to cover here. I mean, I think I agree with Jane's comment with it. I also touched on that. I don't see why it wouldn't be proposed to put a firewall there. I'm not personally comfortable with a 1.5 hour barrier between the new buildings and the old buildings. I don't think that's a good proposal. I don't like the argument to say that because something is affordable, it should be less safe. I think in fact, that's a poor argument. I think that affordable housing should be more safe. So I don't necessarily like those arguments. I don't like the fact that there's no actual regulation to say it's affordable, just a statement you're making. But that being said, I do want to support the application and help. But I am personally not comfortable with it without a stronger firewall between the existing buildings and the new portion. Completely understand that new portions being built essentially like 3 2-story townhouses, and that shouldn't really require any sprinklers. And that the existing buildings stand as they can. But we're taking advantage of zoning to try to get these units in, and we have to fit them to touch these buildings, take advantage of the zoning. I don't think it's fair to also not have the protection. So for me to get there on this application, I'll just say it, I would want to see a firewall between the existing buildings and the old. I think what you're proposing otherwise is great, but that one part does bother me, and so I just want to state that. I also, in my analysis of those site plans, I would have touched on that water main thing. I think maybe the architectural plans don't show it, but the surveyor's site plans do show a new water main, so that may be something you would want to look at. And otherwise, I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying is a fantastic thing to provide units that can be at more affordable rates. But I don't think that they meet the criteria of affordable housing as we traditionally look at. So that's all I'll state. I don't have any questions, just that for me to get there on this application, I would want to see a firewall in those 2 locations.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you say in those 2 locations, where? Between the existing front building and the addition, and where's the second?
Between the back building and.
But there's only a breezeway connecting them.
It's only a breezeway.
I mean, you can still make a firewall there,
Yeah.
and that's a breezeway.
What's
Because
the-
ultimately, it's all, even though it's a breezeway, it's still all connected.
Right.
So you can create the 2 firewalls.
Being less than 5 feet, I would most likely ask for that new wall, the new wall of the
Right.
building to be a firewall, which essentially, if you're not familiar, means that it's
Right.
just a little more sheetrock, and it has to be structurally capable to stand for a little bit longer. It's not a huge, I don't believe it would break the bank, but I'm not sure.
Right.
Okay.
Good? Yes. Thank you. Just getting back. Yeah, just getting back to the utilities again. In particular, the gas main. So you're gonna relocate the gas main?
Yep.
But only within the envelope of the project?
Yes.
Just so you're aware, the plan is not showing that. It's still showing it underneath the gas main, underneath the addition. The only thing it's showing being relocated is the water.
Okay, the gas line's definitely being relocated. We've had Central Hudson there, and they just gave me the cost for that, and the whole plan has been taking 6 weeks for them to get the plan out, because it's on a state road. It's been quite an ordeal, but we're definitely relocating the gas lines.
You need state permits too.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, that's all I had. So is there anyone here at the meeting who would like to speak regarding this petition? State your name again.
Manny Carmona, tourist board official. Just to clarify a couple of points. We did one already, which was the fire department being in proximity. The water supply, the reason why it's showing the way it is, because originally the plans were approved to have a sprinkler system. Then the applicant got into this obstacle of the financial cost to do so he decided to come before you and ask. He consulted with me. I didn't like the idea because I'm more for sprinkler system as a firefighter, but the way they proposed it as far as additional fire rating between the unit and the building, 1.5 hour, I was comfortable with that. I prefer a 2 hour as Mr. Batley, Batley?
Yeah, but that's cool.
As he proposed, but not created as a firewall, because a firewall would create me a separate building, then I got other issues to deal with zoning. But if we create that maybe 1.5 to 2 hour wall as a fire separation wall, then we can still stay with the project the way it was approved by the planning and zoning. And then the idea that this is creating a fire area much more greater than required by code, I kind of agreed, okay, that kind of plays the balance, is not providing the sprinkler system, but you're giving me the fire rating. I took into account the fact that the fire department is very close by, fire hydrant is there, the square footage of the building, the height of the building. I looked at all those things. I said, okay, no, this could be done. It's a possibility that we could still provide a safety for the resident without the sprinkler system. The required fire alarm system will be installed. I'm going to make sure that it's throughout the buildings. So I felt comfortable with that. So with those things into consideration, I can support the application with a fire separation of 1.5 to 2 hours fire rated wall between the units. Not necessarily the fire wall between the buildings, because then we're going to have to deal with other issues that may not get the project approved. The fact that it's being built as a townhouse, but not a townhouse, but the concept is there, is fine. I'm fine with that because I still need to consider this as an R2 occupancy. I don't want to have an R2 occupancy and R3, and that creates other issues for me as well. So the whole project still has to be an R2, and that's why I want him to stay away from the firewalls and the townhouse concept.
That's it?
That's it, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone joining the meeting remotely who would like to make a comment regarding this petition? Okay, not hearing anyone. Okay, that's it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into deliberations. And back short.
Thank you.
And then we go off the record. Go back on the record.
We're on the record.
Mr. Perkins, as I understand you have a request.
Requests for an adjournment to the next meeting?
Okay. So that right now is on for August 8th. Right, that's correct. Okay, so just get together with Mr. Collier. He'll get you
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
We're off the record in that.
Off the record.